Since the late 1990s, the world of finance is a high-stakes game dominated by suits and ties in towering skyscrapers. Yet, in the serene suburbs of Japan, a different kind of revolution is brewing. Mrs. Watanabe, a name that would soon symbolize the unassuming power of Japanese housewives who began to reshape the global financial landscape. As Mrs. Watanabe sits at her kitchen table, coffee steaming beside her, she prepares to enter a market valued at trillions of dollars, equipped with nothing more than her laptop and a fierce determination to secure her family's future. Today, we unravel the incredible journey of how these women not only adapted to a changing economic landscape, but also turned the tables on Wall Street, challenging conventional wisdom and reshaping the rules of finance. To understand the rise of Mrs. Watanabe, we must first explore the backdrop of Japan's economic history. In the 1980s, Japan was the epitome of economic success. The nation basked in the glow of a booming economy. The stock market flourished, and real estate prices surged to astronomical heights. Cities like Tokyo and Osaka were at the forefront of global commerce, attracting attention and investment from around the world. However, as quickly as fortunes were made, disaster struck. The bubble burst in the early 1990s, leading to a catastrophic market crash. The once thriving economy fell into a decade-long recession known as the Lost Decade, marked by stagnation, deflation, and despair. Job security vanished, and families faced crippling debts as the reality of financial uncertainty loomed over them. In this era of economic turmoil, a shift began to take root within Japanese households. With their husbands often working long hours and struggling to maintain stable incomes, many women, especially housewives, became the backbone of their family's financial management. They not only had to stretch limited budgets but also sought new ways to create additional income streams. With limited options available and traditional roles in flux, these women turned to financial markets, embarking on a journey that would transform them into savvy traders and powerful influencers. Mrs. Watanabe became a symbolic name representing the millions of retail traders, mostly housewives, who took charge of their financial destinies. As inflation eroded the value of their savings and interest rates remained dismally low, these women were determined to make their money work harder. Armed with resourcefulness and a willingness to learn, they dove into the world of Forex, foreign exchange trading, a complex realm that had previously seemed reserved for elite financial institutions. The internet became their playground. Online trading platforms sprung up, democratizing access to markets that were once the exclusive domain of financial professionals. Armed with home computers and a burning desire to secure their family's financial future, these housewives began trading, often while juggling household chores, raising children, and managing home responsibilities. It was a delicate balancing act, and they learned to seize every opportunity. Imagine Mrs. Watanabe browsing financial news while cooking dinner or analyzing currency trends during her children's nap time. This ability to multitask gave them a unique edge. Unlike institutional traders confined to rigid schedules, these housewives could respond to market fluctuations at any moment, adapting their strategies with remarkable agility. Among the strategies they discovered was the carry trade, a seemingly simple yet brilliant tactic that allowed them to exploit the differences in interest rates across countries. At this time, Japan's interest rates hovered near zero, while countries like Australia, New Zealand, and the United States offered significantly higher rates. Let's break it down. Mrs. Watanabe would borrow money in yen at an interest rate of 0.5%, then convert those yen into Australian dollars to invest in higher-yielding assets with a return of 5%. The difference, 4.5%, became her profit. With the right timing and research, the carry trade allowed her to leverage her household savings and maximize returns. However, the carry trade was not just about making money. It symbolized a deeper shift in the financial landscape. It represented a movement of power from traditional institutions to individual investors. As Mrs. Watanabe and her peers began to dominate currency trading, the financial industry had to adapt. Analysts and bankers started paying attention to their trading patterns, and financial institutions had to recalibrate their strategies to account for the impact of retail investors. As the new millennium dawned, the influence of Mrs. Watanabe grew exponentially. By the early 2000s, millions of Japanese retail investors, many of whom were housewives, were actively participating in Forex trading, collectively executing billions of dollars in trades each day. They were no longer passive players. They were shaping currency markets and redefining the rules of engagement. The sheer scale of this movement took the financial world by surprise. Market analysts began tracking Mrs. Watanabe's trading activity, and her behavior became a barometer for market trends. The term Mrs. Watanabe soon entered the financial lexicon, symbolizing the collective strength of retail traders. Headlines began to surface in financial publications. What is Mrs. Watanabe thinking? And the influence of Japanese housewives on currency markets. As her influence spread, major financial firms began investing in technology and resources to better understand and cater to the retail investor. It was a turning point in the finance industry, as institutions realized they could no longer ignore the growing power of everyday investors. The actions of Mrs. Watanabe began to ripple across global markets. Her trading decisions were not merely individual choices. They influenced the value of currencies worldwide. Market analysts began to use her behavior to predict currency fluctuations. Suddenly, these Japanese housewives became a topic of discussion in the boardrooms of major financial firms and at economic summits. For instance, when Mrs. Watanabe flocked to buy Australian dollars, the currency surged. Conversely, if she decided to sell, it could lead to significant declines. Financial analysts scrambled to understand her psychology, viewing her actions as a collective sentiment that could sway the Forex market. Wall Street's giants began to adjust their trading strategies based on this new reality, recognizing the power of everyday investors and the insights they could provide. Moreover, Mrs. Watanabe's story reached beyond the confines of the Forex market. As her trading skills flourished, she began to explore other investment avenues. Many of her peers turned to stock markets, real estate, and even cryptocurrency, broadening their impact on various asset classes. This diversification not only improved their financial literacy but also showcased the growing trend of individual empowerment within finance. However, as the saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. The carry trade, while lucrative, was fraught with risks. The very forces that made it profitable, shifts in interest rates and global economic uncertainty, could also lead to catastrophic losses. During periods of financial turmoil, such as the 2008 global financial crisis, the yen would appreciate as investors fled to safety, leaving Mrs. Watanabe facing mounting losses. During this tumultuous period, many retail traders who had bet on the carry trade found themselves in dire straits. As the yen surged, the cost of repaying loans in yen skyrocketed. The once reliable profit margins evaporated, and many households faced harsh financial realities. For instance, Mrs. Watanabe, who had leveraged her family's savings to invest, suddenly found herself grappling with substantial losses. Yet, instead of retreating, Mrs. Watanabe and her peers demonstrated remarkable resilience. The experiences of loss taught them valuable lessons. They adapted their trading strategies, becoming more cautious, employing risk management techniques, and diversifying their investments. This evolution marked a significant shift. Mrs. Watanabe was no longer just a retail trader, but a well-informed investor capable of navigating the complexities of financial markets. Many women who once relied solely on Forex trading expanded their knowledge to include stocks, commodities, and other investment vehicles. They began to see their financial journeys as holistic, integrating budgeting, saving, and investing into a comprehensive strategy. The growth of online trading communities also played a crucial role in this transformation. These platforms allowed Mrs. Watanabe and her peers to share experiences, learn from one another, and provide support. They organized workshops, online courses, and social media groups dedicated to financial education. This collaborative spirit fostered a culture of empowerment, enabling women to hone their skills and develop confidence in their trading abilities. Moreover, the resilience shown by Mrs. Watanabe reflected a broader cultural shift in Japan. as women began to step into roles traditionally reserved for men, their contributions to household finances were recognized and valued. This shift not only helped improve family financial situations, but also empowered women to take charge of their financial destinies. The story of Mrs. Watanabe is more than just a tale of retail traders. It's a narrative of empowerment, resilience, and the transformative power of women in finance. Today, as we reflect on her legacy, we see how she has paved the way for future generations of female investors across the globe. The rise of fintech platforms and investment apps has made it easier for anyone, regardless of background, to enter the market and participate in wealth-building opportunities. Moreover, as Mrs. Watanabe continues to symbolize the evolving role of women in finance, she has also become a beacon of inspiration for countless individuals, encouraging them to embrace financial literacy and seek opportunities for growth. The impact of Mrs. Watanabe's story extends far beyond Japan. It resonates with anyone looking to take control of their financial future. So, the next time you hear the name Mrs. Watanabe, remember that she represents more than just a symbol of retail investors in Japan. She embodies the spirit of countless women who dared to challenge the status quo, embracing the complexities of finance and empowering themselves in the process. Her journey reminds us that financial markets are not just the playground of the elite, but are open to all who seek knowledge, resilience, and empowerment. Thank you for joining me in uncovering this incredible story of how Japanese housewives outsmarted global finance. If you found this narrative inspiring, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's continue to explore the fascinating world of finance together.